Hey guys, this is week 25 of my series titled 52 Weeks of Reaper. Every week for 52 weeks, I'll be releasing a new video focusing on a key feature in Reaper. So let's jump right in. So for this week, our topic and our focus will be mouse modifiers. So here I have this MIDI and I have this audio file. This is just a duplicate of the MIDI file. So the audio is a duplicate of the MIDI track. It has been frozen and rendered to audio. So it's the exact same thing. Let's check it out. All right, so they sound exactly the same. All right, so now let's look at the mouse modifiers. So you're gonna hit Control P to open up your preferences window, and you wanna scroll all the way down on the side here until you get to the area that says mouse modifiers. So in this window here, we have the context section with the context drop-down menu, and then we have another drop-down menu here with some options. These options will vary based on the context that we're in. So if we look at, let's say, media items, the context options over here are going to be different. So when we hit this drop down, we have an option for left drag, left click options, and double click options. If we switch this to arrange view, by the way, if I just select the arrange window here and then reopen the preferences, it's gonna now switch to arrange view for the context. So everything we're dealing with pertaining to the mouse is gonna be under the context of the arrange view and how the mouse is now interacting with the arrange view. So over here we have right drag, middle drag, and middle click. So those options changed. And these are the different options that we're gonna be able to affect. So we're gonna be able to focus in for the arrangement view and say, well, for right drag, what's gonna happen if I right drag normally, or if I shift right click and drag, or if I hold control right click and drag, or if I hold shift plus control and then right click and drag. And you can now go in and choose the options of what happens based on the different options that they give you here. So let's say under the option of right drag, control, they have an option already here, set here for select time. I can double click on this option and then you will get a list of different options that you can change that to. What I'm gonna be doing for this week, it's not gonna be a long video. I'm just gonna introduce the concept of mouse modifiers. It's a very deep system, very complex and very layered, but just want you guys to understand the concept of it, because once you understand the concept, you'll be able to utilize it in an effective way that's going to suit your workflow. One of the things that really bothered me was how the middle mouse button reacted. It by default is set to jog the audio, which I'm not used to in most of my programs that are similar, DAWs and NLEs. So my muscle memory was really messing me up and slowing me down, because I was used to using the middle mouse button to grab and pan around. So if I had a bunch of more tracks here, I can grab and just pan around, up, down, left, right. And I was always doing that and creating a bunch of problems because it would always do a scrub. So whenever I used to make the mistake of trying to middle mouse drag, it would start to do this. So instead of me getting what I wanted, I would get the audio scrubbing. And because of just my years of muscle memory, it was very annoying. But come to find out, I'm able to go in and change how the mouse responds, what it does for just about every little context there is. And that's one of the amazing things of the mouse modifiers and that whole menu and how you can tailor it to your needs. It is very detailed, very deep, and very rich. So I was able to go in for the middle mouse and use the hand scroll feature. Then I switched the jog feature to middle mouse drag while holding shift will give me the audio jog, and then middle mouse drag while holding control gives me audio scrub. And then all was well with the world because now my mouse was acting the way that I'm used to. So if you look here, we have a lot of options where you're in different context situations where you can go in and you can set the different mouse behaviors. What is the right click gonna do? What is the left click gonna do? What is left click drag gonna do when I'm on the MIDI screen, or when I'm dealing with an audio item, or when I'm in the MIDI editing screen, piano roll, MIDI notes. They have an option for every detailed situation. So even the edge of an audio clip, what is happening when I click and drag, or control click and drag. So all these options are here, and we're gonna get a little bit deeper into some of those next week. But I just wanted you to understand that this option is here. It is very fully featured, very rich, very deep, and I'll attempt to scratch the surface a little bit deeper next week. So one of the cool options that's here is, let's say for the context of the media item, we have these options here. If you don't like what's assigned to control left click or control left drag, you can change the defaults, you can keep the defaults, and there's even some options here that's still not being used up right here. So there's still some options here that's still not being used up, and you can go in, just double click in that area or double click on one of these that's already assigned. This little dot here signifies that this is the default. So if you change it, it'll still have the dot here, even though you have something else selected. So let's look at that with my arrangement screen option that I changed from the default with the middle drag. So if we go here and double click on this, it still shows that the jog audio is the default because that has that dot there. But this is what I actually have selected as my default action for my middle mouse drag. Next thing I want to touch on is the fact that you can add actions or custom actions as one of the functions for your mouse. Let's say we want to change the control plus the Windows button click. So let's do left click, and the control and Windows button is not assigned to anything. I can double click here and then slide down to where it says action list. And then I can search for an action in the action list and assign it there. And now whenever I do the shift control and click on the media item, that action will be executed. So the possibilities kind of get a bit limitless because there's so much that you can do when you start incorporating actions. And this is all going to be based on the way you like to work. The last thing I want to point out is that there is a way for you to import, export, and to also save your modifier context settings. So you can save different modifier context settings based on the way you're working when you're mixing, or when you're editing audio, or when you're editing dialogue for voiceover. I know my workflow is different from when I'm editing audio for music. And maybe when you are doing your MIDI editing and MIDI writing, you might want the mouse to behave differently, and you might have made a vast number of changes. You can actually save all of those and have different sets for your different workflows and different functions that you are doing, whether you're editing audio for music, drum editing, MIDI editing, editing audio for voiceovers, and you might have different mouse modifiers that you want at the forefront. So you can have these different use cases saved, and you can switch back and forth. You can export them and make sure that you never lose those settings, and you can import them. Whatever you have exported, you can import them on a new system or on somebody else's system, so the mouse is acting the way you want it when you want it to. And then you can also reset those back to default. So ton of flexibility, ton of great options. And once again, these are the different features that makes REAPER such an amazing DAW. And like I always say, these options are not for you to just jump in and start messing with them right away. I always say REAPER's flexibility is kind of like a double-edged sword, because it is flexible, but it can be overwhelming. So like I always say, take your time. If you're new to REAPER, take your time, get to know REAPER, get to know how to use it the way you want to use it, get into the creative of it first, and then you can start figuring out, once you have a workflow and you understand the workflow of REAPER, you can start to tweak and tailor how it responds and how you want it to respond and how you want it to react to work more efficiently based on your workflow, the way you want to work, your muscle memory coming from another DAW, or just the way logically you want REAPER to respond and react. And these mouse modifier options gives you a lot of flexibility to achieve that. So once again, you can always save all this stuff. Let's go back and look at it again. All these changes that you make, you'll be able to go back to your preference window, go all the way to the top, and you can export your configuration. And once again, any tweaks that you made with the mouse modifying will be saved with your REAPER configuration file, so you don't have to make those tweaks again. And you can also hit the import button to import your REAPER configuration file in case you need to do that on a new system, somebody else's system. So once you set those mouse modifiers, you technically don't ever have to do it again, because it'll be saved along with your REAPER configuration file. So that's it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, you'll see me in the next video.